say it's a pleasure to be here, but I am contractually obliged to be here. If Wicket had a lightsaber, what colour would it be? Brown. Can it be brown? So it would look like a spear, but it could also, you know, spin around and take someone's legs off.
Thank you. Hello, Star Wars Celebration. Please sit down. You will need to conserve your energy for the exciting hour you're about to be a part of. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Stephen Colbert. I am so excited. I just flew in from Dagobah, and boy, are my S-foils locked into attack position. And if you don't understand what I just said, what are you doing here? Now you might be saying to yourself, wait, what is Stephen Colbert doing at the episode 9 panel? I know he is a lifelong fan of Star Wars, but doesn't he do a TV show 5 nights a week in New York City? Doesn't he have a show tonight? How could he be here? Well, let me ask you this. Am I really at this panel right now? Isn't it just as likely I'm in lotus position on the roof of the Ed Sullivan Theater, force projecting myself onto the stage right now? Is that way of knowing? Go ahead, try to strike me down. We know Star Wars isn't just a movie, or a cartoon, or a Christmas special, or a breakfast cereal, or a soap dispenser, or a Pez dispenser. It's not even just an ice mold that makes one giant cube in the shape of a Death Star that makes your cocktail very fun. Yes, it's all those things, but it's not just that. It's also a place. It's a universe. It's where we go to get lost, to get inspired, to feel understood, to feel like anything is possible. 40 years in, more expansive and diverse than ever any of us can imagine being that young kid on Tatooine, about to take our first step into a larger world. I was once that kid, and on my best days, I still am. Now, a few months ago, my friend, J.J. Abrams, mi compadre, my soul cycle emergency contact, called me up and he said, Steve, would you do me a favor? And I said, of course. Why? Because again, he's my friend, and I like to repeat that every so often. He's also a creative genius who understands the spirit and the joy of science fiction. Let the games begin. Here we go. Now,
Hello, Chicago.
Kathy, JJ, obviously this room is electric. It's soaked with gasoline right now. We're just gonna light a match. We know how these people feel. They're just on the edge of their seats with anticipation. What is it like for you, for the people who have created this film, to have that first moment of revelation, like the things that you know you're going to give to the audience today, the things they're going to learn? You've done this before. What's this moment like right before you open the present?
Thank you, Josh. You know, the thing I think about all the time is the responsibility we have. And we have it with all of you, and it's something that we talk about every minute that we're involved in making these movies. And this one in particular, I think the little film you saw at the front end, George was saying that this is the third act of a 3-act structure. It is. That's exactly what it is. And we've immersed ourselves in everything George created, talked about it endlessly, and we're so excited because I think what you're going to end up seeing you're going to be so happy with. We are incredibly excited to show it. And this guy sitting next to me, he cares more than anybody I know.
Well, first of all, thank you all for coming. This is unbelievable to be here. I have to say, in answer to your question, Stephen, hello. In answer to your question, I think that, I love you also. The thing is that at this stage, we've been so sort of in that focused cave of the editing room and working so hard with a very small group of people. And you're aware, of course, what Star Wars means to so many outside of those rooms. But to come here and to have this kind of warm reception and to be physically, viscerally reminded of what it means is the most amazing and exciting shot in the arm. And like Kathy said, we cannot wait for you to see what we're cooking up.
Okay, so with that in mind, where are you in production right now?
Well, we're editing and we're doing visual effects. When you wrap a movie like this, as you all know and can imagine, the directing doesn't stop, the story picture doesn't stop. So you keep. They actually love each other. They love each other. It's the greatest thing in the world. The process continues, and so we're editing and things are going pretty well so far.
Well, Kathy, as you were saying, this is the final movie of a 9-movie arc. What's that like? That's unprecedented in filmmaking to have this one story, over this period of time. As you said, the third, three-act plays, as it were.
Yeah, it is, and I think that what's also fascinating is it's over 40 years. So the context that George was working within, it's 40 years later, and to keep this relevant and meaningful to the characters and to the people experiencing this story, it has to feel like it's of its time. And I think that what we've done is we've taken to heart everything that inspired George, and then I think the inspiration that JJ's brought to this has given it even more depth.
Also, this movie, in addition to being the end of 3 trilogies, it also needs to work as its own movie. And that's been part of the fun of it, part of the challenge of it. But this movie, it's about this new generation and what they've inherited, the light and the dark, and asking the question as they face the greatest evil, are they prepared? Are they ready? And it's been really incredible to look at this thing that George created and to bring it to a close in this way about this new generation.
It is so hard to sit here next to you and hear you say the greatest evil without going, who is? What is? Can you give us any hint?
Kathy?
Okay, moving on. I was lucky enough to meet, interview Carrie Fisher a few times, and I knew Carrie Fisher. I know there's fundamentally no way to replace her as a person or as that person playing the character of Princess Leia. How did you approach filling the void left by Carrie in this movie?
Well, as I've said, we couldn't. And as Chris Terrio, the co-writer, and Kathy and Michelle Rejwan, producers, we all talked about how to move on. I mean, she was the best. She was glorious. She was amazing. And we all just loved her. And I knew her for many years before as well. Episode 7. She was the greatest. It was impossible. There was no way. What are you going to do? You don't recast that part, and you don't suddenly have her disappear. And the weird miracle of having had a number of scenes from Force Awakens that had gone unused, looking at those scenes and starting to understand that there was actually a way to use those scenes to continue her story so that it would be her. The idea of having a CG character was off the table. We never even wanted to try. And the idea of saying, well, we could actually write scenes around her. So it would be her performance, she's in the movie. And the crazy thing is, and I say this, like emotionally, it's every day it hits me that she's not here. But it's so surreal because we're working with her still, if that makes sense. She's in scenes, she's so alive in scenes, and the craziest part is how not crazy it feels. She is there in these scenes, and some scenes with Billy, her daughter, who is in the movie as well. And it's just, Princess Leia lives in this film in a way that is kind of mind-blowing to me.
What are some of the differences you can, like what are some of the new things in this film that you can share with us? When last we saw the cast, they were all spread out. You know, when those stories ended, they were not together. They've been split up. Are they? Do we pick up exactly where we left off? Can you tell us anything about how far the stories have progressed?
What I will say is that the movie doesn't pick up immediately after the last film. Some time has gone by, and what I'll say is that in this movie, and you can tell by that picture, it's the very beginning of it. But this is an adventure that the group goes on together, and this is and it's a story that I think one of the great things about the movie, getting to work on it, was the dynamic between the characters. They are just the most wonderful together, and that's the thing I'm sort of most excited for you all to see.
What about your use of CGI versus practical effects or locations, or like is there can you talk about that at all?
The director, go ahead.
Thanks. I want to tell you so much, but I will say this, that as with The Force Awakens, what we tried to do, despite this being this epic space adventure that takes place on many worlds and in many places, that we did everything we could, building sets, interior and exterior, going to locations in and around in England and in Jordan and other places. We did everything we could to have it in camera. One of my favorite things as a kid, and I still remember that visceral feeling at 10 years old, you know, seeing, looking at what I learned later was Tunisia, but it felt like you knew you were in a real place. It was, and to one of the infinite number of brilliant strokes that George had was to tell the story in physical, actual, real locations. That's Jordan, the location. Wadi Rum, where they shot, Lawrence of Arabia, and you get there and you're just looking around, you can't believe what you're seeing, and it's amazing to have the sort of that kind of beautiful nature as a backdrop for sequences. So we tried to keep it as real as possible, as physical as possible. It was better for the actors, better for the movie.
Yeah! What was the last day of shooting like?
It was emotional, and I can't really give you details, except to say that.
All right.
Remember,
Were there a lot of people on set? Were there very few
Yeah.
people on set?
There were a few people on set, yeah.
There were a few.
Just a few.
Oh, I get it now. You asked me to come to Chicago to ask questions, not get answers. Okay. Whew. All right, let's, anything else you want to cover before I bring out some cast members? Sure? Cast members. All right, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome C-3PO Anthony Daniels and